Now next thing we're going to learn is loop statements. Alright, so loop statements, there are basically 4 loops are there: while loop, do while loop, for loop and for each loop. So if you see, loop means what? It is used to repeat the block same statement again and again, right? That is what loop is. So for that, in programming community there is some type of loops are created, that is while loop, do while loop, for loop and for each loop. So loop statement continues its execution until the specified expression evaluates to be false. What does it means? This loop condition will be there until unless it is false, the code execution will not stop. If the loop condition never false, it means will be stuck in an infinite loop. What does that mean? We'll understand that thing also. If this condition is true, then some code block will be there, so that it will be executed. Similarly, it will come here again, it will check the condition again, and it will go on and it will run till that time, until unless this condition is false. When condition is false, it will end from here, it will end it here. All right, this is what how loop will work. So first loop is going to be while loop. So while loop executes a statement or block until the specified expression evaluates to be false. Same thing what we learned in simple loop, right? So typically while loop is useful when you are not aware of the exact number of iterations. What does this mean? As time passes, you will understand better. So while loop we're going to use that time when we don't know how many iterations we're going to have. How many iterations means how many cycle we're going to have for that. So that is what iteration means. So when we don't know how many iterations is going to happen, so that time we're going to use while loop. So for loop is going to be same thing, like while loop, but in for loop we will know that how many iterations are going to be there. So you can write the condition that the iteration in a while loop, and if you don't know the iteration, that is also fine in for a while loop. So that is going to see. Next thing is going to be do while loop. So it is similar to while loop, but here one code block is going to be there. If the condition is false also, the code block will execute at least once at the first time. So it's similar to while loop, except that it evaluates the expression after the code block has been executed. It means this code block will be executed once if it does not satisfy this condition here also, because code start from here and it will come here, so it will execute. After that the condition will be checked, and if this doesn't satisfy, that time it will not execute, but at the first time it will execute for sure. So it is useful when you are sure that about one time expression execution should happen, this code block should happen, execution should happen, right? That time we use do while loop. And next thing is for loop. So for loop is also do the same task, but it contains 3 sections. First thing is declaration, index declaration from where it is starting. Then next is the condition, and third thing is the update statement. So we're going to see for while loop, do while loop, and loop for loop, we're going to see all the syntaxes of that, everything. We're going to solve lots of questions regarding that. We're going to see nested if, we saw that nested if else, right? We'll see nested while loop also, nested for loop also. These things we will see it. So typically for loop is useful when you are aware of exact number of iterations. So this is the initialization code block. Then you enter the condition, then code block is executed, then updation happens. This is the flow chart of it. So we're going to see in the VS Code how this is happening. So let's jump to the VS Code and do some problems there. Now we're going to see the while loop, how while loop syntaxes are written and everything we're going to see here. So we're going to take another file and write it at 17, and I'll write while loop.c. So we're going to write it. So for this while loop we're going to see the syntaxes and everything, we're going to see it. So here I'll write what, suppose we want to print number 1 to Suppose 100, we want to print numbers from 1 to 100. So how will we print it? And we want to use using while loop. So these are the natural numbers, right, from 1 to 100. Suppose we want to print from 1 to 100. So how to achieve this program, how to write, using while loop, how to write it, we're going to see it. So for that, again, same thing, we're going to write the header file #include stdio.h, and I'm going to write the main function int main function is written. I'll write the parenthesis, I'll take out, and I'll write return 0. Okay, I'll come back here, and what I'll write is, okay, so we have to start from somewhere. Suppose from where we are starting from number 1. So I'll initialize one variable. I'll write variable I, and that will be writing from int I equals to 1. This is the first number from where we are starting, initializing the number, and we'll use the keyword while. So this is the keyword we use, and within this, here we'll write what the condition is, what I is going to be less than equals to 100, because we want to print till where 100. So how these iterations will be happening, we're going to see it. All right, and here inside this code block, what you're going to write, we're going to print the numbers. So that is what we want to do. So we'll write %d for integers. I have to write, I'll give some space so that we get some space within the numbers, and I'll write I as the iterating variable, and here I'll write it. And one thing is there, that is I have to update it. So I have to write I equals to I plus 1. All right, what we mean by this, not capital I, small I will be there, I equals to I plus 1. All right, this thing we have written. So how the code will be working, we're going to see that. So this is starting point, right? And this part I is less than equals to 100, it means we want to print till 100, right? This is the condition. Till this condition, the execution will happen. All right, and what we need to print, we need to print the numbers I, 1, 2, 3, 4 till 100. We want to print it, right? So that is going to print, but we have to update that I every time, right? So I will be updating by I equals to I plus 1. This is not mathematics, this is not equals to, basically this is assignment operator. In programming, equals to means we use double equals to, right? In one single equals to means what? Assignment operator. All right, I'll hit Control S, I'll clear it out here, I'll use clear. Okay, it's cleared. Now I'll explain one by one. This is what? This is updation, updating the iterating variable, updating the iterating variable. All right, what I mean, so it will start from I equals to 1. So now code is coming from up to down, right? So I equals to 1, 1 is less than 100, correct? So this condition, so while loop will be executed when this condition is true. If this condition is not true, then it will never be executed. If I start, in the starting I'll write 1000, I equals to 1000. So when it enters here, 1000 is less than 100. So that is not true, right? So this while loop will not be executed. So will not get the result anytime. All right. But if I write I equals to 1, 1 is less than 100. So print I is going to be printed. What is I? 1, right? In the first loop. So 1 will be printed. Then I will be updated. I equals to I plus 1. Initially I was what? 1. 1 plus 1, 2. I will get 2. So 2 will come here in the while loop. So 2 is less than 100. Yes, 2 is less than 100. 2 will be printed from this line. Again it will update here, 2 plus 1, that is 3. So I is now updated to 3. Similarly it will go on cycle till 100. So when I will be 99 plus 100, 100 is less than equals to 100, true. So 100 will be printed from here. Okay, now let's 100 plus 1, it's going to be 101. So 101 it will enter here, and 101 is less than 100, that is false. It means this while loop execution will stop here. This is how it is going to be done. Alright, I'll hit Ctrl S, I'll right click here, run the code, and you'll see that 1 to 100 it is printed. Okay, let's see. If I write here 90 and save the code, Ctrl S, and run the code, what happens? So it is printing 90 to 100 because this is the starting point. We are giving 90. Alright, now if I change it to what I said, 1000. So 1000, if I give 1000, it will go to the while loop condition. 1000 is less than 100? No, right? So I'll hit Ctrl S, right click, run the code. So if you see, nothing is getting printed. Alright, so this is what, from where you are starting, what is the condition, and what is you have to update it, right? So this is how it is going to be executed. So here if I write 1 and hit Ctrl S, right click here, run the code, and it will be printing from 1 to 100. Now if someone wants to change from I plus 1 updation to I plus 2, it means every time it will be updated by 2 values, right? So 1 will be coming here, 1 will be printed, and 1 plus 2, that is 3. It means 2 will be escaped. Let's see what values it print. Ctrl S. If I hit Ctrl S, I'll clear it out first, and I'll right click here, run the code. You see 2, 4 values are getting skipped because you are updating the value with I plus 2. You can do this thing. Lots of things you can do. I'll leave it to you guys. Now we're going to see next example. Suppose we want to print these numbers in reverse order. So what do you have to do? So suppose we want to print these numbers in reverse order. So what I said, we want to print number in reverse order, suppose. So what we'll do? So for that, we'll take another program for that. So I'll write 18, then I'll write while loop dot C, right? I'll write 1 while loop 1 dot C, and I'll hit enter. Same thing again, we go to write that header file hash include stdio dot h and main function return 0. All right, this much is done, right? So I'll declare one variable, and we want to write what? Int I. Will not initialize the value directly here. Suppose, okay, we can initialize. Suppose we want to print from 100 to something, right? So I'll write 100 here, no issues. Initially we're writing 1 from printing 1 to 100, right? So here what I'm doing, I'm initializing I variable with what? 100. Okay, now I'll write the while keyword, and I'll write the condition here. What is the condition? I is greater than equals to 1 till that print it. And inside this I'll write printf statement 1, and here what I'll write is I'll write percentage d, and I'll give some space, and I'll comma, and I'll print I, right? And what I'll do is I equals to I minus 1. So from 100 it is going to start. 100 is greater than 1, correct? So 100 will be printed. So then 99, I will be getting 99. Then it will continue in the loop in this fashion, right? This is what it's going to do. Now if I hit Ctrl S, I'll click here, I'll clear it out, cleared. Okay, if I run the code, so you see from 100 to 1 it is printing. If I change value, suppose I want to print from 10 to 1, right? So we can also do that. I'll Ctrl S, right click, run the code, 10 to 1 it is printing. Suppose you want to print 20, 18, 16, 17, 1, 2, double of this number. So what you have to do? You have to multiply by 2 here. So this various things can be done, lots of tricks can be done. So it will be printed. See, 20, it's getting multiplied by 2. So anything you change here, what you are printing, so that can be done. I'll keep it very simple. I'll hit Control S. I'll put 100 here. Control S. I'll clear this out. So if you understood this, we are printing in reverse order. Now suppose we want to print in the order 2, 4, 6, 8 and so on, right? Suppose we want to print that way and we want to take input from the user also. So how to do that? So we will see that thing. Now we will be taking input from the user, and suppose we want to print the even numbers till 1 to 100, right? So how can we do that? Or we don't want to initialize that very first. So how to do that? We're going to see that right now. So let's write 19 while loop dot c. All right, I'll write the header file #include stdio.h. all right, int main function I'm writing, and I'll write return 0 here. Okay, so what you want to do? We want to take input from the user and we want to print, suppose all the numbers, which are divisible by 2, right? So suppose we want to do that. So what you have to do? And we want to take input from the user also, right? So I'll declare one variable int I, and I'll declare one more variable that is going to take input from the user. So let's declare that variable as n. So these two variables are declared I and n. I is that variable which is going to be the iterating variable, and n is going to be the input. We're going to take input and we're going to store it in n. So before that, in the console we're going to write printf and we're going to show it that this is what we want to take. So we'll say enter the number. We're going to say this way. So this will be printed. After that we'll be using scanf. Scanf is for taking input from the user. So I'll use %d here. So before that I have to use double quote %d, and I'll give comma here, and I'll write ampersand of. We are storing it where? In n, right? So we have to give input from our side. We can give 10, 100, 1000, whatever number we want to give. Whatever we want, we'll give it. Okay, now we'll start the value from where? Let's say int. Okay, we already declared that variable I, so I'll be starting that variable I equals to 2. I'll be writing directly this. It means initializing. Here we declared it and we can initialize this way also. All right, now we'll write the while keyword and we'll write the condition. What is the condition? I is less than equals to n. So n will be dependent on us. What is the value we're going to take? So that is custom, that is the custom value will be there. So I'll be writing printf, and here we want to print what? %d, that number we want to print, and we'll give some space to it, and we're going to print I. So this is what we need to print, and we have to update it also, and we'll be updating equals to I plus 2. So this is we're going to do. All right, so I'll hit Control S. Now I have written initially. In the previous example, I used to write here, if you see, I is less than 100, right? Here we are not writing 100, here we are writing n. So n we want to give it from our side. Control S. If I right click here, run the code. So it is asking for the number what we want to enter. Let's say we want to enter 100. So this is what n, it is getting stored in n, right? We are giving the input. So I'll hit enter. So it is printing 2, 4, 6 till 100. So if I run the code again, let's run the code again, and let's give, we are waiting for the enter the number to be get printed. So it is taking time. I don't know why. So enter the number will be coming out here, and we're going to give suppose 1000. So we can change it manually. So it came right, instead of 100 we're going to, let's say 200 I'm giving. I'll hit enter till 200 it is printing 2, and it is this way, this is updating this way. All right, so this is how, with taking input from the user, this is how it is done. All right, now we're going to see Fibonacci number. We're going to solve that Fibonacci number question, that thing with this while loop. So for that we're going to take another program and we're going to write it as, and we're going to do with while loop only. So we're going to write that program as to be 20 and while loop, and I'm going to write 3.c. So here we're going to see Fibonacci series. So if you know Fibonacci series, like this is a mathematical concept. So Fibonacci series is there. So if you search over the internet what is the Fibonacci series, you will get the number. Fibonacci series is nothing, just adding the previous two numbers. So Fibonacci numbers for 0 is 0, for 1 is 1, and previous two numbers are added. 0 plus 1, Fibonacci of 2 is 1, 1 plus 1, Fibonacci 2, 2 plus 1 that is 3, 3 plus 2 that is 5, 5 plus 3 that is 8, right? 8 plus 5 that is 13, and so on. Previous two numbers are added. Fibonacci of 0 is 0, Fibonacci of 1 is 1, and Fibonacci of 2 is 0 plus 1, 1, 1 plus 2, 3, 1 plus 1, 2, 2 plus 1, 3, and similarly it goes on. This is what Fibonacci number is. So you can understand what does Fibonacci number is. So we're going to implement this step here. So how to do that, we're going to see it. All right, so we'll write hash include header file. We're going to write stdio.h, and we're going to write int main function. All right, return 0. We'll go here and we'll declare some variables. So let's declare iterating variable I, let's declare variable n. So we need 4 variables, and you'll understand why we need 4 variables, I, j, k. So here n is what? N is going to be taking input from the user, that is that variable. So I'll write one printf statement so that we know that what we have to enter. So in that printf statement what we'll write is enter the number, right? So I'll say enter the number. Okay, till where we want the Fibonacci number, that is what we have to enter. All right, I'll commit and give the end statement. Now I have to write the scanf. We're going to take input from the user, right? That till where, so if I say Fibonacci of 2, so it is going to print it till 0, 1, 1. If I say Fibonacci of 3, it is going to print till 2. If I say Fibonacci of 4, it will print till 5, and so on it will be printed, right? And how to take input, will use ampersand of n, it is getting stored in n, right? And this is how we took the input. Now Fibonacci of two numbers we know, Fibonacci of 0 we know is 0, and Fibonacci of 1 we know is 1, and rest things will be calculated because Fibonacci numbers are those numbers. Previous two numbers if you add, you will get the Fibonacci number of next number. For 0 we know, so I equals to 0 and j equals to 1 will be writing directly here, and we'll be writing printf statement here, and what we'll be writing here will give percentage d, I'll give some space, and I have to give percentage d again, right? Because we have to add previous two numbers, that is what Fibonacci number is, right? For 0, Fibonacci of 0 is 0, Fibonacci of 1 is 1. Now here I'll take the variable. What is that variable? I comma j, right? Okay, this is done. So we have taken k variable. How it is written? K will be written as what? I plus j, because we know Fibonacci numbers are those numbers which are added previous two numbers. And now here we'll write the while loop, and in the while loop we'll be writing k is less than equals to n, because till n we want to print it. So this is the ending statement, it will be right. Okay, we'll write the printf statement, and here we're going to write what, percentage d, because for integer we have to use percentage d. All right, and what we'll do is comma k, this is what we are taking. All right, now here we have to update I equals to, what I have to do, j, because next time I will be j, every time we'll be writing. So this is I, this is j initially, right? Okay, let me write the logic first, then I'll explain everything. J will become, then j will be updated to k, right? And k will be updated to I plus j. This is what it's going to be. Okay, this is the whole code is done. What I said, Fibonacci number are those numbers, previous two numbers when we add, we get the next Fibonacci of that number, right? And we know Fibonacci of 0 is 0, Fibonacci of 1 is 1. Only these two things we know, Fibonacci of 0 is 0 and Fibonacci of 1 is 1. So we have written that thing here. All right, now we have to write the logic. So we have to print the number I and j. So 0 and 1 will be printed. So this two number will be printed from here, right? Now k will be next number. This number will be what? Fibonacci of 2, Fibonacci of 0 plus Fibonacci of 1. Fibonacci of 2 will be what? Okay, let me write the formula here also. So fib of, if I say n, so what is going to be there? Fib of n minus 1 plus fib of n minus 2. So this is the formula. If fib of 2 is there, so fib of 0 plus fib of 1, right? So this is that thing, that is the condition, k equals to I plus j. Now we have to, k will be updated every time, right? Because, and I will also get increase, I'll become j next time, and j will become k next time, and k will become I plus j. So this is the logic for writing the Fibonacci number, right? So I'll hit Ctrl S, I'll clear it out here, I'll write clear, and I'll right click here and run the code. Now it is asking for the number till, suppose 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We printed till Fibonacci of 7, right? I'll hit 7 here and get the output. Okay, it is giving some wrong result. We did something wrong. Okay, what wrong I did? I got it. In the line number 17, I didn't use percentage. So that's why it is getting printed directly this D. So percentage D we have to use, because otherwise the number will not be printed out. Like this is control sequence, right? We know for integer percentage D we have to use. I'll hit Ctrl S, I'll right click here, run the code again. So let's enter 7 again. So if you see 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5 till 5, it is getting printed, right? If you write more values, it is going to be printed in that manner. Now we're going to jump to the for loop. So we'll end it here. Now next thing we're going to understand is that do while loop. We already studied while loop, and in while loop we saw that condition is there. So do while loop, we're going to see how the syntax is, and we already know that the execution of the first block will be happening and like it's independent of the condition. First time it is definitely going to execute. So let's see what does that mean. So let's create another file and write it 21 and write do while loop.c. Here I'm going to write the header file hash include stdioh int main function I'll be writing, and here let's declare one variable. So let's write int j equals to 0. So we'll do some tweaks and we'll see if this is happening or not. So int, we have declared one variable. Now do while loop, what is the syntax for that? So for that we'll write do, and here we'll write the code block, and after that we'll write the while, and while we'll write the condition here, and we'll end it with semicolon. Alright, j is starting from 0. So here what we'll write a printf statement, one printf statement. So we're going to print that value of variable j is, what is that value? %d. That value we want to write, and we'll go to the next line, and I'll come out of it and I'll give what is the variable we're using, j, right? And at the end we'll use the semicolon. So this is the code block, and here will the updation will happen j++. It is similar to j equals to j+1. j++, we already saw that unary operator, we already solved that questions previously, so that is that thing. So in while we'll write the condition. Let's write j is less than equals to 10. So if it is less than equals to 10, it is going to be printed, and at the last let's write one return statement also for the 0, because it is for it main function is of integer type, so it is going to return something. I'll hit Ctrl S, it is saved. I'll click here, I'll clear it out, the terminal. So this code block will be executed. So j equals to 0, 0 is less than equals to 10, completely fine, right? So if I run the code, let's run the code. So it is 0, 1, 2, 3 till 10, it is printing, right? Do while loop, this is getting updated and all. Now if I give j equals to 11, so 11 it's going to be there. Is 11 less than 10? No, this condition is not satisfied, right? But this code block will be executed once we know that do while loop, that is what the functionality of do while loop is. All right, so what we'll do is I'll hit Ctrl S, I'll right click here and run the code. If you see, it is executed, and it is independent of this condition, because in do while loop at least once it will be executed, right? J is 11, 11 is not less than 10, but still this line will be executed once. After that, when it into the loop, that time it will check condition, and that time it will not run, right? That's why we are seeing this is happening. Condition is false, still it is happening, because in do while loop we know that it will happen for once. Okay, now we'll see nested do while loop. So I'll create one more file, 22. Here I'll write nested do while .c. So in this, again I'm going to write the header file #include stdio.h int. I'm writing the basic template of it, thus writing the C program, and at the last I'll write return 0. Okay, now what I said, nested do while, it means inside do another do while loop will be there. So let's create first do while loop. Okay, so for that creation, we know we write the do, and we'll write it this way, and come down for this do, there will be while, and some condition will be there, and we'll end with semicolon. So inside this do, another do while loop is when it is there, so that time we say it's a nested do while. So for that do, we'll write do. Okay, I'll come down, and for this do I'll write one while loop, while, and I'll give some condition here, and I'll end it. So for the bigger do while, so I'll give some body to it. So let's use printf statement here, and let's give some body. So what I'll say, I am from the outer do while loop. So this is the body of outer do while loop, that's why I'm printing this. All right, this is understandable. Now when I write inside this, I have to say what I'll be using printf statement, and here what I'll write, I am from the inner do while loop. All right, so this much is clear. Now I have to give the condition. So let's give condition that 1 is greater than, let's say, 10, and here also give the condition 2 is greater than, let's say, 7. This is not true, right? But we know once for this is the bigger, like outer do while loop, right? This is not true, still this line will be printed. We know because in do while loop once it will be printed. This condition is also not true, 1 is not greater than 10. So it means what? It is going to be printed once, right? So if I hit Control S, I'll right click here, run the code, and if you see, I am from the outer do while loop and I am from the inner do while loop, it is getting printed. Both are getting printed because we know it is independent. First time it will always be printed, it is independent of the condition. After that it will check and it will terminate the loop. So this is all about do while loop. Next thing we're going to learn about for loop. Now we're going to learn about the for loop. For that we'll create another program and we'll name it as 23 and we'll write for loop.c. Alright, now here we're going to again write the header file hash include stdio.h. Alright, and I'll write int main. This is the function I've created, and I'll write return 0. So I return 0. This is the basic template is done. Alright, now I have to write the for loop. So in for loop what we studied, that in for loop there will be initialization, then there will be condition, then updation, right? So for that what I'll write is, I'll write for keyword will be using, and I'll write what is the data type int, what is the iterating variable I, and semicolon will be using, and I less than equals to 100. Suppose we want to print from 1 to 100, right? So here I initialize from 1, it is starting, so I'll be giving 1 here. So 1 to 100, and at the last we'll be updating the value, and in the body will be there is, we'll write the printf and we'll just need to print the values, right? So I'll write %d and I'll write iterating variable I. So this is all done, right? So I'll have to use semicolon here. I'll hit Control S, I'll click here, I'll clear it out first. Okay, so it will start from 1 and condition is I till 100, it will be printing 101, that time it will terminate the loop. So I plus plus is updating the value. Similarly we did in while loop also, right? I'll run the code here and you see till 1 to 100 is printing. If I change from 100 to 300 and I hit Control S, right click here, run the code, it will print till 300. Similarly you can do for anything. If I change from 1, suppose you want to print from 200 to 300, so I have to give 200 here. I'll hit Control S here, right click here. Before right clicking I'll be clearing it out first. Clear the terminal and right click here, run the code. You can see from 200 to 300 it is getting printed. So this is how it is done. Alright, now if you want to implement other examples, let's find if a number is prime or not, and we want to apply that logic using for loop. So what I have to do now, we'll take input from the user that number, then whether the number is prime or not, using for loop we're going to check it. Let's do it. So we'll be writing 24 and prime or not dot c. So we want to check the number is prime or not. So for that I'll write hash include here stdio dot h int main function I have written, and I'll writing the return 0. Okay, this much is done. All right, so what we'll do here, we'll declare some variables. So let's declare variable n and declare variable I here. Not declare I, let's declare n. This is going to take input from the user. So before that I'll write print f statement I'll be using, and I'll be writing it here that enter the number. So let me write, to the next line. So slash n, and I'll say enter the number. So we want to check that number is prime or not. That is what we want, right? Now we want that number to be get inputted from the user. So how to take input? This is how we take input. Scanf %d, and we're going to write it comma ampersand of n, address of n, right? This is how we take input. All right, we have taken the input. Now we need to run the for loop. That number is what are the numbers are the prime numbers, right? So for that what I'll do is I'll write a for loop, and I'll write int I equals to from 2 will be starting, because 1 is neither prime nor composite number, as we know that, right? So from 2 will be starting, and I less than n. So n is that value will be entering. Let's say 100 will be entering. So from 2 to 100, whatever the prime numbers are there, all will be printed. Now what I have to use is I plus updation. I am doing it here. Now here I'll take the condition. Like what I have to do is if n, whatever the value n is taken, if that modulus of n by I is equals to 0, that time we'll break it. We'll use the break keyword. Again, break keyword we used. So this break thing will be learning, the next break, continue, and all these things will be learning. So this is, break is a keyword that is going to terminate it. So n is what? Let's say, n we have taken to be 10. So 10 divided by 2 equals to 0. That time it will be terminating it. That time it will be coming out of this for loop. Now we want to find what are the prime numbers, right? So for that we'll be writing if I is equals to n, and this is how and is written. If I is equals to n and n greater than equals to 2, if this condition satisfies, then we'll say that it's a prime number. So we'll say what? It is a prime number. Else what we'll be saying is, we'll be saying that printf, it's not a prime number. It is not a prime number. All right. So this is the logic behind it. So what we said, that one thing we have to do is we have to declare this I as globally also, because I we have taken inside here also, right, in the if. So we have to do it. Okay, one more thing wrong I did is I have written this else inside the if. So I'll cut it and I'll take it out of this if. So if else is there, right? So this is to be done. Suppose we enter some values, let's say 10. So 10 is divisible by iterating variable from 2 to 10, right? So it will break and that value will be checked. If that is not, so it will be saying as a prime. So this is the basic logic of the finding prime or not. All right. So what I'll do, I'll hit Control S. I'll click here. I'll clear it out first. Okay. I'll right click here, run the code. Now it is asking for the number. Let's say give value 35. So 35 is a prime or not? We know that 35 has some factors, right? So it is not a prime number, right? Now let's run the code again. Let's run the code again and try to find if 7 is prime or not. It has no factors, right? Until unless 7 or 1, right? And we are not covering that also. So what we'll be writing is, it is saying is 7 is not a prime number. Okay, something wrong we did. It means so some mistake we did, right? Because 7 is a prime number, we know. So some logical mistake we did. We have taken scanf, okay, and we have taken, let's debug the code. For int I equals to 2, okay, will not go till n, will go till n by 2. Like will not iterate till n by n, will iterate till n by 2. This is one thing we're going to do, and this is going to be same, and we're going to write this break in the parenthesis. Let's write this break in parenthesis. All right, this is done. Now again, I till I equals to n. Not we want to do that. This we going to do till I greater than n by 2, because we have changed the variable there. So I greater than n by 2 till and n is greater than equals to 2, or else we can write same thing in this way, greater than 1. It means greater than equals to 2 only, right? So we'll add, we're going to print that number. What is that number? We're going to print that is n. We're going to print it, and here also we're going to print that n. All right, now this is the small tricks we did, and we'll see if it is running or not. I'll hit Ctrl S, right click here, run the code. Now it is asking for the number. Let's enter the number 7. So now it is correct. Now we entered that 7 is a prime number. We'll check for another number. Let's right click here and let's wait for the coming. Okay, now 17 is a prime number, we know. So if I hit, it's a prime number. What logic we change? We iterate till n by 2, and we have used this bracket here, and I is greater than n by 2. Till that time we'll be checking if condition. If that is there, then that is a prime number. So if you iterate one by one, you will understand better what I'm trying to say right now. So this is the code for finding the number is prime or not. So this is how for loop is going to happen. Now we're going to see nested for loop. So how inside one for loop another for loop is going to be there, and how we're going to print the numbers. So that is we're going to see, let's say. So for that we'll create one more program, that is we name it 25, and we'll write nested for loop .c. All right, here we'll see, we'll write the header file again, hash include stdio dot h, and I'll write int main, and inside the main function I'll return 0, and above will be writing that thing. So I'll writing not int, here I'll be writing the for loops. So let's write the for loop. So int I equals to, let's say I'm starting from 1, so 1, and I less than, let's say less than equals to, let's say 10. All right, so we're going to create inside for loop another for loop is going to be there. That is what nested for loop is. So here I'll write I plus plus. So inside the scope of this I'll be writing another for loop. So I'll be writing another for loop, and I'll be naming it iterating variable as j equals to 1. From 1 I will be starting, and I'll be writing that condition j is less than equals to 10 again, and what I'll be writing is j plus plus. And inside this for loop I'll be printing out. So let's print something. So let's print all the values there. So what I have to do is I have to use percentage d. So for printing I want to print j, suppose j values, right? So suppose I want to print this, and every time I print one line it is going to go to the next line. So for that, every this for loop is executed, it should go to the next line. So I'll be using another printf statement, and I'll be using the next line here for that. Otherwise everything will come in the same line. We're going to see this, what is going to affect if I don't write this line number 8, because it is going to get the line to the next line. So that is its work case. So I'll hit Ctrl S, I'll click here first, I'll clear it out and right click here, run the code. And if I run the code, you will see under 10, 1 to 10, it will be printed 1 to 10 again. So it is kind of table, it will be looking like some kind of table to it. So 1 to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 10, it will be printed this way. Alright, so I can give some space to it so it will look good. Hit Ctrl S, right click, run the code again, and you can see this, right? So if I comment out this line, let's see how it is happening. Ctrl S, if I don't give enter, so see it is printing this way, 1 2 3 4 5 10, 1 2 3 4 5 10, this way. So when we come here, it should end and it should give enter. So this is what it is doing, this line is doing that thing. Alright, so this is all about for loop. Now we're going to jump and see, jumps in a loop, that is break, continue, all these things we're going to see that. So let's move to that.